Yo.
Yo.
Ready. Let's get it. Score. Half mensen, oké. Je bent nu host.
Ja, ik zie het.
Where the people at? Where the people at?
Ben je al ready? Or no?
Ja? Obviously.
Dan ga ik nu 11 mensen toelaten.
Dat is lekker toepik. There we are. Welcome, people. Welcome. Ready for another round of intense studying. I'll grab my little notepad as per usual, because today is going to be a tough one. Bidding strategies. Going to be intense. Let's write it down. Because we'll start off slow and then we'll increase it quite rapidly. What's up, Stuart? It's been a long time since I've seen you. I hope all's going well. Alrighty. People, welcome. Let me just share my screen. Then we can up and running. Oh, Stanley, it would be great if I'm allowed to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, kind sir. Right, there we go. The infamous Word document. All right, let's get it. Any questions on bidding strategies before we get started? Right, we'll do a lot of questions and answers on this call today. I don't assume there's any questions. It's quite an intense topic, so most of you will have questions along the way. Right, no questions, perfect. If you have any questions at any point in time, drop it in the chat. There will be an opportunity to ask questions along the way, depending on what we have. All right, so bidding strategies, basically all the media buying functions, whether we are rocking the push, the Facebook, the Google, the native, the display on supply and demand, right? And it's basically functioning on a system which is called RTB, which you need to know by heart, the definition, which is real-time bids, right? Bidding bids. So the RTB is the most important factor here, because when you are, for example, running email marketing or SMS, you're working on a database. So there's no RTB. So the bidding strategy doesn't apply because the inventory is pre-purchased. There's no inventory push before you are launching the ads. You're basically sending it out, you already paid for it. Right, so the supply and demand, well, let's take some examples. Native, push, display, Facebook, and Google. Some good examples. So in all these examples, there is obviously some real-time bidding involved. You need to bid on the traffic available, and then the supply and demand, in addition to the competition, will at the end of the day determine how much you pay. Relevant to obviously things like ICTR, how relevant you answer to the audience when you run CPM campaigns will determine how much you pay at the end of the day. Okay, one thing I do want to stress before we go into things, you need to know what these things mean. So first price bidding, and I assume most of you don't know what it means, and second price bidding. Anybody here who's very smart can explain to me what these things mean. Definitions, please, not a whole summary. Any hands for the genius who can explain me what this means? Oh, I see all the experienced affiliates. They're like, nah, I'm not gonna take this one. Yeah, why? Okay, yeah, take your chance. Just you can unmute yourself and you can answer.
So I'll try to answer this quickly. So first price bidding is if you win the bidding, you pay the amount you bid. Second price is if you win, you pay maybe 1 cent above the second price.
And 100% correct. Very good.
Right.
I told you before you're a smart guy. 1 cent above second highest bid. So first price bidding is real CPM. Yes, what you bid is what you pay, depending on the supply and demand. Is not a huge influence, right? There's hardcore competition still at play, but you cannot be outplayed on the bid unless somebody's just bidding more. On second price bidding, there's a lot of more competition mechanics strategy that you can apply, because in the scenario, you pay 1 cent more than the second highest bid. So let's say on the first price bidding, I put a $1 CPM, right? Then I pay a $1 CPM. On the second price, for the example, I put a $1 CPM, but let's say I'm competing with Stuart and Stuart put 90 cents, then what I pay actually is 91 cents, right? So if Stuart ups his bid to, let's say 0.95, then I'm paying 0.96. I'm still not paying that $1, right? There are crazy advanced mechanics that you can put in play. For example, bidding $999, which means every time your competitor, as soon as you have, let's say, a campaign which does 5,000% ROI a day, you want all the traffic, right? So you bid 999, which basically means every time he ups the bid, you win it again. Every time he ups the bid, you win it again. This person thinks there's just no traffic available because his win rate is always 0 from that day onwards. However, as soon as you have somebody like yourself who can read the data, if I see it in my tracker that something is not right here, so what I will do, for 1 minute only, I will put my bid at 900. So all of a sudden, for your impressions, you're paying an insane amount of money. And that's basically how you push these bullies out of the market, right? This is a very common strategy that, for example, Forex advertisers use when they use in-house media buying on any platform, right? They know their stuff works. They're spending, let's say, over $500,000 a day. And their main problem is not profitability, because their call centers are going full force. Their main problem is traffic. They need more traffic because they're making so much money and they want to make more money. So this is a little trick that they use to basically outcompete everybody. And the traffic sources are fine with it because they pay a lot of money for the traffic, right? So that's basically how it works. First price, second price, a little bit of an advanced bidding strategy. Now, at the end of the day, there are things, for example, which is called automatic bid on Facebook, where Facebook does the work for you, and you have a manual bid, which is like most platforms, you put the bid price, right? Okay, so now we have different bidding strategies, right? CPM, CPC, CPA. Now it becomes more difficult already. So which one do you have experience with, and how did it go? Anybody has experience with all 3 of these bidding strategies? I don't think so. No? Okay, let me write it down like this, yeah? You can basically attempt whatever you want, but this is basically how the flow goes. With the CPM, you basically pay for the 1,000 impressions, right? Irrelevant of how good your ads are, the traffic source gets paid. So basically, at this point, you are just running the business for yourself, right? When you go on a CPC basis, the traffic source is, at the end of the day, paid cost per click traffic, right? So you can determine how much you want to pay per click. Well, the affiliates are smart. So they will say, I'll make a little calculation and put the bid on the CPC that I break even, right? All of you guys are thinking right now, ooh, if I can pay CPC, I just pay break even as a cost. So what happens is the exchange has billions of data points, right, from prehistoric campaigns. It will start you off high, which means you get a high ICTR and the budget is being spent. Then it will say, okay, now we can probably make a little bit more money. Let us push you in the medium category of the quality of the traffic. It's still spending, and then it will go into the low quality, right? Depending on how good your ads are, CPC either works or it doesn't, and the campaign will stop spending. Because for the CPC that you offer, they cannot offer you traffic because your ads are shit, right? And that's usually what happens if you launch a campaign and you have little to no experience on CPC. Either the results on the ICTR start high and you get super excited, and then it tanks and you get a little depressed, right? Or the campaign stops running at all, which is more often seen on CPA. So on CPA, it's even more lucrative. You can just say, I want to pay this much in traffic for this conversion, right? So let's say we have an $80 payout. I'm going to put the CPA on $80, which means I'm break even. The traffic starts spending, and at $80, it realized it doesn't have a conversion, and the campaign stops spending because the traffic source knows on prehistoric data that what you want is not possible, right? What happens usually with CPA campaigns, the advertiser, or at least the affiliate, the media buyer, puts 10 times CPA as the CPA amount, out competing, giving the system more money, all the other people who want a 20% return. Yeah, keep following. 10 times the amount, feeding the system a lot of money, and pulling in all the data, working with the traffic source to achieve the results, and then slowly lowering the CPA once it pulls in the data of the conversions. So in this scenario, you're feeding the system conversions, which is what it wants because it wants to register CPAs, which it's doing, and then you slowly lower it to get the result that you want. Obviously, at this stage, you need to know that your ads convert, and you need to know that your landing page is optimized. So what do? You start with CPM, you get better, and you get results. You move to CPC, you get better, you get results, and you move to CPA. And that's basically, at the end of the day, how the flow works. A lot of sources only offer CPM, so you don't even have to think about it. Some offers offer CPC, and a lot of push sources pop under that kind of stuff, offer CPA as well. That was very intense. Any questions about this? Some hands if you have questions. I cannot imagine there are no questions on this. This is quite complex. But we can do a little test and see if everybody understood it. Alenio, there we go, my friend. Yeah, you knew you were going to be picked. Could you please explain me how the CPA expert level works?
I think after you feed a lot of conversions to the traffic source, I use a lot of Google. So, and they have this bidding strategy called maximise conversions, or I only know the names in Portuguese.
That's right.
And then they have the desired conversion. I don't know if the name is right. The naming is right. But then what Google sent me, as I had a consulting call with them, is that after a while, the system, the intelligence of the Google or the traffic source knows which people will convert better, and you have a lower CPA as time goes on, as the campaign learns how to convert.
So what would that mean? Because now you gave an experience summary, but what does the CPA mean?
CPA is you will pay a certain amount for an action, a lead, right, or a sale.
Right. So why do we put the budget high?
So the system because the system starts not knowing who will convert, and it needs data to learn that. So perfect. You have to spend so it can learn.
Yes. All right. Perfect. Thank you. That's basically it. At the end of the day, the affiliate, the media buyer, uses data to make optimized decisions. So if you want the traffic source to take certain actions, why shouldn't it need data? It's the exact same thing, right? However, what we do is controlled by a human, and what on their end, it's controlled by machine learning. So at the end of the day, if you can process billions of data points with your brain, which you can't, that's why you use a tracker, the system on the other end will do the same. It needs data for the machine learning to take advantage of your data matched against all the other advertisers with the same relevant targeting, right? Whether that is, at the end of the day, neutral campaigns or whatever, the vertical is irrelevant. It's about the placement that you're buying traffic from in relation to the country and the supply and demand at the same time. Very difficult, but it's something you need to be aware of, right? So over the last couple of trainings, we've discussed copywriting, the images, the landers, how it works, the flows, how to find offers. But this is obviously something which is more mathematical of a background information. But if you understand this, this is only probably the bidding strategy chosen. So you already know this would be the best for a beginner if you're an advanced affiliate. Advanced would mean spending about 50 to 100,000 per month, you would probably be on the CPC category. And on the CPA, I would say, don't bother unless you really understand it. I don't even like to run CPA campaigns because the system never does what I want it to do. And that's the other side of things, right? Technology extends to a certain extent. And if you think you can do it better by controlling the environment yourself, then do it. That's why, for example, if you run Facebook campaigns, you can do automated bid, right? And Facebook controls the spend. But I like to do manual bid because I think I can adjust it better than Facebook can because their pixel is off so many times during the process, up to 30% of the time, which is kind of a lot. I think I make less mistakes if I do it by hand. But it's a lot of work, right? You need to read all the data. All right, any questions about this, or we can move on?
Seems like there are no questions.
No, everybody is still focused. Because I'm just thinking with my head about all these bidding strategies, and I'm like, well, this is intense for you to absorb it into such a short period of time. Can be quite overwhelming. All right, then we go back to the RTB, yes, the real-time bidding. Anybody has an idea how this RTB actually works? Because we know we just put our ads into the system and it shows impressions, it shows on the phone or on the screen the ads and the placements, but what's the actual system behind that the traffic source runs to be able to operate this RTB model? Any ideas? You guys have all completed the courses, so you should be able to say how the supply side works because it's shown there. Well, let's go with, I cannot see the names anymore. Where are the names? I know most of you guys is known by heart, but let's go with our new friends from Lithuania. Can you unmute yourself and give it a shot how the RTB works?
Hello, Colin.
Hello, sir.
We can't say it's all new today.
All new? All right, that's fine. Good attempt. At least you're here. Okay. Anybody else who wants to try the RTB? It's not as difficult as you might think. Okay, so here we go. Yes, supply on one hand, demand on the other one. Everybody can see me, right, Stanley? It's not, you're not watching the Google document, you're looking at me. Yes?
I can see you, but I don't know if everybody can see you.
Yeah, everybody can see me. I see everybody staring at the computer. All right. Supply and demand. That's at the end of the day, basic economics, right? Okay, now we're going to throw some expensive words. Equilibrium. You don't need to know how to spell it. You need to know what it means. It is the point on the X where supply and demand meets, right? This is the price you pay for the traffic. Obviously, supply and demand go like this, but it can also move like this depending on the demand, right? If you have never had economics in school, this is going to be a pain in the ass to explain. So what I will do, I'll just pull it up right here. Equilibrium. Okay, it's also a movie apparently. Okay, so this is the one I used in the course. So price, quantity, and this would be demand, supply, same thing. And it meets in the middle. If you have an oversupply, obviously the price goes down because there's not enough demand. If there's an undersupply, the price goes up because there's too much demand and it will drive up the price, right? This is something you need to understand. This graph looks complicated. Take your time, move it around a little bit, move the axis and see how it works. Because at the end of the day, this is basically what's going on with the traffic source, right? So what happens when a traffic source starts? You can imagine, okay, every day there are new traffic source companies being pushed out of the ground. They need traffic or they need advertisers, which in this case is us. If they have traffic but no advertisers, they're going to lose money, right? Because they have an oversupply of traffic. If they have a lot of advertisers but not enough traffic, we're going to bid against each other. We're going to pay too much and move to a different traffic source because it's not profitable for us. So to manage a traffic source, it's a hell of a game, right? And that's where the RTB comes in. So basically what happens on most traffic sources, so this would be push databases, display, native, anything not social, because social manages their own database. So Facebook has its own database, but also Facebook audience network is with third parties, right? It includes Facebook app, it includes Play Store, all kinds of things. Well, Play Store, maybe not anymore after the iOS changes, but it includes many things. What happens in the scenario where real-time bidding takes place? What would happen if we want to buy traffic and they don't have anything? Because we're here, double dozen people on this call alone. Let's say we all buy from one specific source, right? One specific widget. So just one website. We will boost up the price because everybody will start a bidding war, but there's no traffic. This traffic source is obviously at this point not making the money they could be making, right? And when it's about business, we want to maximize our capacity to make money. So what will happen is you would have to buy traffic beforehand, right? Buy inventory. And here again, we come back to the big number pool. Because they have a double dozen billion data points, they know over a period of time, this is the traffic volume we can expect. So they pre-purchase traffic, right? So let's say they pre-purchase 500 million impressions per day under a contract, so they always have this. Then there is something which we call spillover traffic, which is the traffic which is not sold, it's auctioned through another system. Okay, so please can somebody tell me a traffic source that only sells pre-purchase traffic and no spillover traffic on push? Because you can see it in the campaign creation, but you don't know because you've never heard it. Murat, let's give it a shot. Our push guy.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
Oh, hang on, let me turn up my volume. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. Yeah, because I'm using at the moment solely only propeller ads.
All right, so in propeller ads, we have two specific options that indicate the spillover traffic, if it's there or if it's not there.
I think you have the option to switch it on or off, the broker traffic.
Perfect. There we go. So the brokerage traffic is spillover traffic from other sources. Why is it so much cheaper? Why is the quality so shit? Because it is inventory that is not sold on another source, now being auctioned on propeller ads. All of a sudden, you have, perfect, Murat, thank you. You have, let's say, a reach of 100,000. You add brokerage traffic and you have a reach of 1 million. The gap is way too big. When you go to a traffic source like Zero Park, it's all spillover traffic, right? They don't have, well, I don't know exactly 100% sure, but on the amount of traffic they have, and I have visited their company in person, I know that there's all spillover traffic, right? So what happens is they buy unsold inventory. That's why the traffic on Zero Park is cheap, but there's so much of it that it's very hard to get stable quality. Because right now you can buy 100,000 impressions and the next day you can buy 10 million because it didn't get sold, right? So the inventory is less fluctuant, and that's why they push large quantities of data. On the one hand, it's nice for propeller ads because it's very detailed, but there's no scale. On the other hand, Zero Park, it would require a bigger investment because there's a bigger data pool to test, but it can be fluctuant, right? Pros and cons on each side. It's not necessarily good or bad, but it's something to be aware of, because I assume most people watching this click on brokerage traffic and don't know what the fuck it means, right? So in that regard, you might be making a mistake because it has a lot of influence on the campaign where it can go left, right, good results, bad results. And that's just one example, right? Okay, we guess we got there from the equilibrium, just trying to straighten out my story again. So this supply and demand X when buying traffic is obviously important. So where we want to be is basically the equilibrium where we have enough supply and the price is good, right? The question is, how do we find sources like this? Impossible. We just have to test it. And obviously you can take my feedback on sources which I know is good. For example, we got approached last week by a new company called Push House. It's a new push provider, but just like Mega Push 2 years ago, Rich Push 4 years ago, when they get started, they have a lot of very cheap traffic, but the quality is all over the place. Someday you have 100 conversions, 1,000 conversions. The next day there's 2 conversions because there's not that many advertisers. That's one, and they're still trying to figure out their place in the market. So you know when you go to Mega Push for push traffic that the traffic is like medium quality on the lower end, but the traffic is dirt cheap, right? So you have to find the balance there. Okay, let's move back to our beautiful Google Sheet and see where we left off. Okay, so the RTB is obviously very important. When you have, for example, a source like Facebook, or let's say Google search, because we have some Facebook people here, how would Facebook manage the impressions that are being shown? Because every time that we're on Facebook and we're scrolling, just like on Google search, somebody types in a keyword, the ad is already there. So they have pre-sold the existing inventory because they know that some impression will come for that specific keyword. How do they know this? Again, the same story with the ads and the inventory. How can they know that I'm now grabbing my phone, going to the Facebook app, and I scroll through my newsfeed and there's an ad there specifically targeted to what I like? Crazy. Well, obviously they have my behavior patterns because I use this app a lot. But on the other hand, how can it be so instant? Well, they pre-sold the inventory, and because they use data analytics to be sure to do so. Algorithm, right? They use an algorithm. The algorithm is smart because the more data you feed an algorithm, the smarter it becomes. This is not AI, right? So anybody says, oh, we got an AI algorithm. No, it is just machine learning. The machine is code. It's being fed data, just like we have, for example, on our dashboard, the top 10 lenders. It's also being fed data. How many lenders are created? Which lenders are being shown on the dashboard? And every time is an algorithm which is the same because you guys use the same amount of lenders which are being created, right? It's simple. People try to overcomplicate the supply and demand story, but at the end of the day, you just need to understand how it works and what your goal is relative to it. Because if you go place the bid according to the suggestion, yes? Is Robert Kim here today? Stanley?
No, I haven't seen him yet.
No? Oh, Robert has a very good example yesterday. He was on propeller ads where you have the graph which goes up according to the bid. Yes, the bid varied from 0 to, let's say, $4.20, and then you're at 100%. If we have 0 to $4.20, where do we place the bid? Let's make it simple, yeah? 0 to $4. Because this is all the programmatic. So this is push, native, display, all these sources cover the same flow. $0 to $4, yes? And at $0, it's 0% of the traffic that you buy, and at $4, it's 100%. And then you have like, not a linear curve, it's like bubbling. It goes like this, right? So the higher the price, the more traffic you buy, and then there's some adjustments. Let me see, prepare ads supply a bit, maybe we can get an example. Anybody knows where to put the bid when you start off a campaign? Yeah, this is the old window, what it looks like. Right now it's like blue and green, or like red and green, kind of fancy. Who knows how to use this model? Because any source, MGID, Ref Content, Taboola, Outbrain, Mega Push, they all have a suggested bid to give you an idea of what to use. Who knows how to use these charts? Because let's be frank, if you don't know it, you're just doing something, right? And I'm sure you guys are not just doing something. So you guys know, now you just have to say it. We'll patiently wait until somebody shows up. Ooh, Christoph, my friend, how are you? Let's give it a shot. Unmute yourself and please explain me what you do. So you have been running MGID, and obviously we're going to change, but oh, did you hear me or not? Microphone, yeah, just unmute yourself so I can hear you.
Can
Yeah,
you
there we
hear
go.
me?
We.
I heard.
All good. All right, so you have the MGID, yes? MGID gives you a coefficient bid recommendation. Do we follow that bid, or what do we do?
Oh, I suppose if I want to be to have my ads printed a lot, I put a high bid, and if I just want to test with a small impression,
Yes.
slowly, I put my bid lower.
Okay, that's all perfect. When we say we have $0, zero reach, and $4, 100%, you're starting off your campaign on whatever budget you have. Where do you place the bid?
In the middle?
In the middle. All right, then we have at least one starting point. So we'll do a little round robin here. Christoph will put it at $2. Yes, in the middle. All right, thank you. Then we give it another shot. Vai, let's come back to you, and you can give it a shot to see where you put the bid.
All right, I'll start low. I'll put the bid at a quarter, so $1.
$1. All right, now it becomes interesting because now we're taking compartments. Who is taking the right approach? If there even is a right approach. Michael, what are we going to do?
Okay, so for me, I want my budget to last the whole day. And I found typically if I do at the top, I spend my budget in 10 minutes. I would go $2 and then adjust accordingly to try and make the budget last the whole day.
That's a very important note, so I'll just write it out. I'll get back to you on that. Perfect.
Okay.
All right, sorry. Who else wants to say something? Because now I see a lot of people laughing, at least smiling. So you guys all have an idea of what you should do. Well, what should you do? Stuart, let's give it a shot, okay?
I'll probably be like with Wayway and do it at $1.
$1. Okay, why do you think $1 would be the right choice there?
So obviously let the traffic get the data first off, and then I'll up my bid depending on the traffic.
Perfect. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Stuart. Now we have 4, right? So the question is, what are we? Are we sheep and going to follow the gentleman, or are we trying to use the strategy we really think will work? Marianne, what are we going to do?
I would say if I look at the curve to maximize, I would go in at, I don't know, 70 to 80%.
70, 80%. So that would be $3-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Now we have a little gap. 2 teams. Murat, okay, let's do it.
I have the same approach as Marianne, I think. I also go always for or the recommend bid or a bit higher than the recommend bid.
Okay, so, and why is that?
I just have the feeling that I get the better traffic.
Better traction there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, one more person who has the input that we're looking for. Because obviously, some of you are right and some of you are wrong. Nobody else? All right, let's do it then. Let's give it a little sum up to see what we can do. Sorry, I was just clicking on my Zoom. All right, so the real question is, where do we start relative to Michael's opinion? So this is 100% correct, not necessarily the bid. Let me just take this part, right? So it's obviously relative to the budget. So all of you are in some form right? Because we didn't write down that data. So relative to the budget, if you have high budget, you could afford to put a potentially higher percentage-based bid on what is suggested. Yes, because you have more money to spend. Stuart, you have my perfect approach as stated in every course. We take 25% of the suggested bid. The reason being, okay, so let me write it down, 25% of suggested bid, or at least what we call capped bid, which is the end bid to get 100% of the traffic. Well, this is not true. So 25% of the capped bid. The reason why we do this is that we want to get some data traction in order to see, are we getting too much traffic? Are we getting too little traffic? Where is the sweet spot? We don't want to overspend. For the first day, I rather underspend and not spend my entire daily budget so I know I can go up than paying more for the traffic that I could have gotten cheaper. That's a topic we'll go next. If you have Murat's approach, where you make this decision on pre-generated data, it's also good because he knows that he needs a higher bid on propeller ads to get the quality traffic he needs to get conversions, right? But if we would say we just put $4 because that's what they suggest, that's bad because we always know that they're trying to sell us traffic because they need to make money, right? They don't have our intentions at the top of their head, their own intentions. So I will say, Christoph, correct. Why am I correct? Well, all of these are correct if the reasoning would be only spend more to get better quality. So 25% of the capped bid, which is the total, right? Or I would say perhaps 20% below recommended bid, just to be on the right end. 20% to 25% off recommended bid, right? Okay. Now we pull this away, and I have a very interesting question because it's at supply and demand. Supply, again, demand, and it's relative to the daily budget and the win rate. So anybody who doesn't run programmatic, Facebook, Google, this doesn't appeal to you, but it's very important to understand nonetheless. All right, so let's say I have a daily budget of $1,000. The win rate is 60%, and the spend is $1,000. Ooh, $1,000, and my bid is $2. Right? Your account manager says if you bid $2.20, you tap into higher quality traffic. Okay, again, let's make a quick list. Unmute yourself when you hear your name, and I would like to hear the answer. Stuart, let's start from the beginning. What are you going to do with the bid?
I would still keep the bid lower, just slightly lower than what the account manager says.
So your bid right now is $2, and she wants you to put $2.20 to get higher quality traffic because obviously you need more conversions. What do we do? What bid do we put?
I put $2.10.
$2.10? Diffuse the risk by going halfway. So you're always halfway wrong, but that's okay. Thank you, Stuart. All right. Let's go with our boys from Lithuania. If you don't know, make a guess, because if you follow this, I'm pretty sure you could give us a good answer.
I would go 220.
220? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And why?
I wouldn't change my bid. I would keep it at 2 unless I'm willing to spend more daily.
Okay. Please, a little bit more elaborate. Why? Could you please give some more information?
Yeah, I'm trying to say is because if you bid higher at 220 and your spend is capped at 1,000, then you actually get lower traffic, less traffic.
I should never have asked you because you ruined our little game, because this is obviously the right answer. Yes. Thank you, Y. Very smart move again. I've explained this a dozen times in the community. So if you're not active in the community, please do keep up with the posts, because this gets asked once a week. And I always give the same calculation. This is a supply and demand question, yes? So largest, for you, this is the wrong answer. Stuart, again, you took the middle ground, so that's okay, but it's also not correct. What's happening here is we all know the account manager is just trying to get us to buy more traffic, right? So Damien, I don't think is here today, but I always tell him every day that his account manager is his little puppet and not his friend, right? If you need something from the account manager, like a whitelist, blacklist, then get it. Don't take their advice on how to run your campaign, because they don't know how to media buy. All they know is how to sell traffic, right? Very important. When we look at the bid, so we're spending $1,000 a day according to our bid. The win rate is 60%. So we know there's more traffic there. We're bidding $2, right? Only increase the bid when the daily budget is not spent. Only increase the bid when the daily budget is not spent. Because what happens is we're going to increase the bid by 10%, yes, in the new scenario. So it becomes 220, which means we still spend, so let's say in this scenario, we would get 1,000 clicks. Now we increase it by 10%. We still spend $1,000, but we only get 900 clicks, right? Because the traffic is 10% more expensive. So it would be linear equation. We lose 100 clicks and we still pay the same just by following her advice. Makes no sense, right? However, if you would increase the bid when there's opportunity, what you get would be this. Daily budget, let's say 1,000, yes. Win rate, 60%. But in this scenario, which you often have with a bigger budget at the beginning, the spend is only 500. The bid is $2. So if you would increase it, the spend obviously now goes up, the win rate goes up because of your higher bid. So you're, in this scenario, outcompeting others. If you would want to follow her advice, what you would have to do is increase the daily budget to be able to create that new segment, because now you create twice the risk. One, you're increasing the budget, and two, you're increasing the daily spend on something she just sent you a message. You could ask for data proof, but just like affiliate networks, they will just fraud you on the data. All the Excels that you sent of the top offers are fake. The conversion rates are not real, right? It's just entered by somebody because they need traffic for these offers. Oh, very scammy industry indeed. What is important in this? Well,
yeah, perfect.
What was that?
I was just going to ask if you wanted to scroll down a little bit, but you.
All right, cheers. All good. So in this scenario, we know we only trust ourselves and our Deberoo family, right? Based on the data we have. The courses are clear, and if you did not get this right, you might want to watch the course again, because Y was able to answer it perfectly, and the community is obviously a shortcut to this information. Very important. Okay, let's do a little recap, because apparently our theory is not that good. This has to do with the bits as well. Ooh, again, more theory. I want to hear a definition, which is one sentence on this. Who can give me the definition of the golden rule of media buying? I don't want to hear a summary. I want to hear the exact definition, which I think somebody can do here, because you are all smart guys. Or somebody just give it a shot if you don't know the definition. Michael.
Okay, I'm just going to guess at this. I guess the golden rule of media buying is only spend your budget.
That's good business advice, I would say, but that's not the golden rule.
Okay.
This is a theory I made up 3 years ago. So every product we've ever made follow this rule. It's a very basic principle, but I want somebody to explain how it works after we have the definition, right? Okay, let's say it starts with when, right? Alenia, what are we going to do? So it starts with when, and then it forms the sentence.
I don't know that one, Colin. I would say.
Okay, it's okay.
Sorry.
Okay, how about this? Nobody?
Christoph seems to have it.
Oh, now
Sean as well.
now I see a lot of hands. Okay, let's. Sorry, I don't know your name, but I see you on every live. Why doesn't my Zoom have the names? It's a bright light with a big headset in a blue
Sean?
background. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Is it, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Is
Let's
it
go.
when you scale, the ROI goes down?
100%. Thank you so much. First time I'm hearing you. 100% the right answer. When you scale, ROI goes down. But the question is, why? Right? So if you can argument that as well, that would be great.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
Fine. That's fine, because this is a difficult one, but this one is very important to understand. I call it the golden rule of media buying because we go through the testing, then we go through the optimization, and all we want to do is scale. And what happens is we have a lot of advanced media buyers under our guidance, right? We have heads of digital with hundreds of employees, and they still make this mistake because they're greedy, they're emotional, right? It's very important to understand this because you will take your profitable campaign and over-optimize it into a big loss, and you're ruining what you've worked so hard for. But how does it work? That's the real question. So we can make a little budget. What's it called? Spend a campaign. So let's say CPM is $10. Now let's do one simple CPM. Okay, the ICTR is 10%. So the CPC is 10 cents. If you don't follow this, just let me know, because then I will explain. The CPC is 10 cents in this scenario. LPCTR is 50%. PCTR 50%. Conversion rate, let's take 50%. 10% is fine as well. So it's easy for my math. And then the payout is, let's say, $50. So we get, this would be an EPC of $5, right? And then the CPC, the LPCTR, 50% draft. So the EPV in that scenario would be $2.50. So this would be an extremely profitable flow. Let me adjust the metrics a little bit. Let's do 1%, makes it $1. So it's still too profitable. So we make CPM, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now we pay $1 CPC and the EPV is $2.50. So we make more than 100% ROI. Yes, wow, great, we made a beautiful flow. Let me just check if these numbers are correct. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, it's just an example. All right, now we're going to scale. What happens when we scale? One of these metrics is going to change. Which one is it? Let's see if my team is smart. Rohan. Ooh, I can barely hear you. I can't hear you. Can somebody hear him? I don't think so. Nope. Oh, well, good attempt, but your mic doesn't work. All right, we'll move to Michael. Michael. No, is it Michael? No, I mean other Michael. Michael with the blue background.
I would think your EPC would go down.
That's an interesting guess, but we need to be somewhere else. Which one are we going to do? Okay, so let's say we're going to scale. Which metric would we adjust? Let's do another guess. So ideally, we want more traffic, right? If we want to scale, traffic, we need more traffic. So in order to get more traffic, we need to increase the bid. And how do we do that? Which metric do we change?
Your CPM?
Yes, sir. More traffic, increase the bid. So this one increases. Perfect, Michael, thank you. This counts for all the programmatic sources when there's manual media buying, and it also accounts for Google or Facebook. You will not adjust the bid, but you increase the budget, and therefore there will be higher demand from your side, and therefore the bid increases and the cost per click goes up. Yes? Now the question really is, why would the ROI go down if we increase the CPM? Yes? It's a simple mathematical equation, but before we type it out, is there somebody who knows the answer? It's between two variables, two. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different variables, and two of these metrics influence each other and ruin our campaign if not done correctly. Who's the person who's going to say it? Well, there's two variables out of 8, so it's 25% if you make a guess that it's correct. Well, actually, it's not 25% because there's two. Why? Want to give it a shot?
Okay, I'll take a guess. So I think the two variables are CPM and CPC. So when you increase your CPM, your CPC also increase. That's the cost of your traffic.
Yes.
And because your earnings per click, earnings per visit is the same, so your profit goes down.
Damn, 3 out of 3. You deserve a little reward. I will send it to you later.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's what you get if you participate properly. 100% correct. So in this scenario, thank you, we increase the CPM, right? So what happens is the ICTR, because we increase the bid to get more traffic, your ads are not going to be more relevant all of a sudden, right? So the ICTR stays the same. Then it basically means because it stays the same and the traffic price goes up, the CPC goes up because now the cost per click, instead of in our previous example, buying 1,000 clicks, we buy 900 clicks all of a sudden. So there goes less traffic to the flow. The landing page click-through rate is not a miracle, it doesn't change. The conversion rate is not a miracle, it doesn't change. So the earnings per click at the end of the day stay the same, but the cost per click goes up. So relative, our ROI goes down because the costs have a little bit increased. If you do this exponentially by going from a $1 scale to a $2, overnight your 300% ROI goes minus 50 because you're not adjusting things properly. It would be smart to take a lot smaller steps, not be greedy, because you can imagine is, let's say we have 1,000 campaigns running, right? We operate at an agency level. 1,000 campaigns. Now all of a sudden, these 300 campaigns, we have a target to hit, we need more money. We increase all the bids, and overnight, your 200 grand a day profit goes to 10K, while you have significant cost, right? So at this stage, you panic. What happens? Now you lower it, right? You lower the bid again. Will the quality stay the same? Who knows? Because at the end of the day, there is supply and demand in the RTB. So we assume that it will stay the same. However, there's obviously some optimization algorithm on the buy and supply side, which we cannot influence. And that's why you should not think about it too much. But the odds are very unlikely that it will be the same, right? So if you increase your budget 10%, 20%, 30%, if you go above 30%, so doing 200% increase in the budget, it is basically starting the testing phase all over again, or just straight up ruining your campaign. It depends on which source. On the programmatic sources, push native display, you will ruin your campaign. On Facebook and Google, it basically resets the optimization algorithm and you have to start over, which makes no sense because you were doing it so great, right? Any questions on this? Some hands for some questions, because we have discussed a lot of things so far, and I assume most of these things should be pretty clear, but there are also some things that might be confusing. We have some more experienced people on this call. We have some more starters on this call, and most of you look quite confused. And you have the opportunity to ask questions. So I would really say, do so, even though you think they might sound a little bit stupid. It would be more stupid not to know what you're doing, right? No questions? Damn. Okay, then we'll play a little game. If there's no questions, we're going to play a game. So we'll see how smart you are. Okay. All right, for the bidding strategies, there are a lot of different things. Yes? Who can tell me what this means? This is an abbreviation for something. Hands? Yeah. Oh, Christoph, of course. Yeah, you can do both. What does this mean?
I think it's the demand side processor.
Sure.
And supply side platform.
Okay. Can you name one of each of these?
You have volume.
Okay, let's not do volume because it has
Volume.
a DSP in the name.
Yeah,
So
volume
that's too
DSP.
easy. But there's a lot more.
Another
Could
one.
you name one? Okay, there's two for you. And on the SSP, I'm not going to worry about it because I don't even think I can name one from the SSP side, as we don't deal with those. Those deal with the publishers. So it doesn't really concern us. But if you go look on SSP, DSP, you'll get a cool graph on how it actually works, right? This is the advertiser. This is us. We buy from a DSP, then it's connected to all the ad exchanges, which connect to an SSP, which is all the inventory exchanges on the publisher side, right? So the publishers are the people owning the websites. They're connected to the publisher networks, which are connected to the SSP, which are connected to the ad exchanges, which are connected to the DSP. And here's us in blue buying all the traffic, right? So there's a whole crazy mechanic, and this is a very simplified version, right? It would more look like something like this. So in the masterminds last year, so if you are, I don't think we do a mastermind this year, but if we would, then we drill down on these kind of images, how they work, and it's quite intense, of course, right? Okay, more questions. What are we going to do? How much time do we have? Stanley, do we have any questions from the people over the chat?
No questions up until now.
Okay, then I assume you all took notes, right? I have some notes here. Alenio did good. Weiwei did the best. Okay, what does this mean? Uh-oh, I see people panic. What does it mean? This is what we started off with, yes? I'm not gonna bully you guys and try and test you what this means because this is not fucking school, right? I'm not here to lecture you guys. I'm here to give you guys a workshop and you either take in the information or you don't. At the end of the day, it's not my business, whatever, right? But it's important that by now you should be able to know what this means, write down what this means, or put on a piece of paper to look up after this meeting because these things are important. Yes, but we will do some more fun stuff. Damn, the bidding is actually quite difficult when we look at all the different options available. I don't want to ask you guys some crazy difficult questions at the end of the day, but the bid question was quite good. Then the increase in the bid, the budgeting. Oh, well, we can do relative to the budget. Who has a campaign running right now on any of the native sources? Yes, two of my rock stars. Let's go with Elenia. It's ref content, I think, Brazil. This is it, right? Damn, it's like I'm running your campaign.
Yes, it is. I have few clicks. It has few clicks. It hasn't like gone too far. I think I might increase a bit.
Okay, CPM bid for this campaign?
No, it's CPC.
Ooh, okay. I spoke with you about this, yes?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. CPC bid?
Yep.
Yeah, what is it?
Now, I got a whitelist, so the general CPC is a decimal of a cent, and then I bid.
Like this?
Yeah, that's for the whole network. Good. So I got the whitelist, so I bid 4 cents for the whitelist.
4 cents for the whitelist.
Dollars, yeah.
Is it US dollars or?
It's US dollars.
Yeah, okay. That's so cheap, it's ridiculous. That's good. Okay, and we have like an app install flow, yes? What's the daily budget for this?
It's 100. It's the minimal
that will be a lot of traffic. That's good. That's good. All right. So now the question basically is,
but it doesn't spend.
Oh, it doesn't spend. Okay. It's been a crazy long time since I've been directly running with ref content. Is there a win rate present inside or not?
A what?
Win rate column on the data reporting?
Win rate? No. Not that I see.
Yeah, most of the direct sources do not report win rate, and then it's because there is so much traffic that in addition, there would always be never 100% win rate because nobody's buying all the traffic, right? But that's more complex stuff. All right, so if you have no win rate, we have a lot of questions, right? Because in this scenario, how would we ever know where we are in terms of how much traffic we can buy? That's the real question. So a lot of people think that this is native, yeah? Let's pause this for a quick second because I want my Facebook people, although it's a literal nightmare right now on Facebook, to know how it works. So what would be the indicator on Facebook? Because there's no win rate. And same for Elenio on his ref content campaign, there's no win rate. How do we know that what we're doing is correct? So these two will have a different answer because this is a CPC campaign. Hint, hint on what changes. Who here runs Facebook? I don't think that many people. Can I see some hands? Yeah, all right, there we go. I see some hands there. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Let's have a quick look.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Chris?
I have no clue.
You have no clue? All right, the question really is, if there's no win rate indicator, and apparently, what would we do in order to basically be able to get more traffic, which we have discussed before? We would up our bid, right? So in the scenario of Facebook, because you don't control the manual bid, if we want more traffic, we would feed it more money, right? So we increase the budget. Okay, well, I think this is what you should know. What happens if we increase the budget usually?
Impressions and click.
Sorry, one more time.
I was going to say your impressions go up.
Okay, impressions go up because we spend more money, yes?
And everything else follows. Well,
everything else follows? Yeah, should be. Okay, so plus and everything, yes? There's one metric that also follows, which we don't want it to follow. We want it to stay down, and that's, of course, the CPM, right?
Yes.
So what happens is, as soon as you start increasing the budget, which automatically means that Facebook says there's more room to increase the bid, right? Which you're doing, the CPM at the end of the day is, you will reach a roof at some point, right? So you need to keep track of what the CPM actually is, because if it goes from 10 to 11, it's okay, right? You're just tapping into more source, but that's already a signal. There's might not be enough traffic. When you up it again, so you go from $100 to $150 daily budget, and now it is at 15, right? At some point, it will be almost no additional spend, and the CPM goes up $10. You know, there's just no more traffic for your narrow targeting, right?
Yeah.
You'll see the frequency cap go through the roof. It's like 6, 8 on the frequency cap, because that is something you cannot control. Okay, so that's it for Facebook. Now we go back to this ref content example. It basically works the same way, right? You need to up the budget. However, in this scenario, we bid CPC, but it would be the same on CPM, right? So we up the budget, but we control the bid in this scenario. So what happens if we just keep upping the budget? Yes, we go from 100 to 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1,000, 2,000, all the way to 10,000 a day. Yes? At some point, something will happen, which is what? So we are running this scenario, right? I'm just trying to see if you guys understand how the bidding things work. If you don't understand, don't stress about it. I've been doing this for such a long time that, of course, I know everything by heart. Okay. I see two guys looking like they think they know it. Is that true? Then you can unmute yourself. If it's not true, we're going to go to somebody else. But I think you guys can guess it. Want to give it a shot? Yeah, go ahead.
I would say that you buy the whole cheap traffic, then you have to.
That's Alenio again.
Alenio, yeah.
Who are we talking to? Okay, one second, Alenio. It's all good.
Okay,
it's all
sorry.
good. Let's give it to our Lithuanian boys for a second, see if they can guess it, because they are quite new, and I would love to have.
Should we get any win rate if we increase the budget?
Okay, so the win rate is not available in this scenario. So this network, it doesn't support win rate. So we bid 4 cents and we increase the budget like crazy. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000, all the way to 10,000. At some point, something will happen, which is what? It's inevitable.
Let's give a shot to Alano.
Yeah, well, you can shout something. It doesn't matter if it's crazy. What do you think would happen?
40,000 win rate, I think so. No. Win rate, no.
Yeah, no win rate.
Outcome.
So the bid is 4 cents, and this is our budget. Yes, big difference. Yes, big difference. So maybe in this scenario we would have maybe, I'm gonna make a guess, 200,000, maybe 2 million clicks, right? Because this is very cheap, which is cost per click bid, and this is the budget. So let's say we have 200,000 clicks. It's possible or not? 200,000 clicks in Brazil may be possible, but it's a lot for one source, right? For one day. Agree or not? I see some people nodding yes. Okay, so let's just say they're all correct. It's a lot of clicks for one source, 200,000 a day, right? So what does that mean? If we're skeptical that they can deliver 200,000 a day, it probably means that they won't deliver 200,000 clicks a day, right? Or not? It's okay, guys, it's okay. Let's pass it back to Alenia, okay? We're still getting the traction of it.
I would come back one step and ask you, what's the definition of win rate?
Oh, win rate is basically the traffic you're placing bids on relative to the bids you're winning, relative to the total supply. So let's say there is 100 total supply, you win 70% of the bids, your win rate is 70.
Oh, I see. Now I get it.
It's quite simple. But what is the inevitable outcome? No, why? It's not your time yet. Because I know you know, and I know you want to make that hat-trick +1, but we're going to stay at Alenio for now.
Yeah, I would say that you're going to win all the cheap bids, cheap placements, and then you start competing with the higher bids. So your CPC will have to go up. Then you're going to spend more. Yeah.
Okay, but we place the CPC bid. So this is, let's say it's, what do we put? 10,000? I'm putting it on the calculator now. 10,000.
It will not spend. So you have to.
Oh, thank you. It will not spend. Right? It will not spend. Why not? Because it would need 250,000 clicks per day. That's what it would need to deliver, which for one source in Brazil, although there's a huge amount of people in Brazil, 250,000 clicks for one source is extremely unlikely, right? Could happen, who knows? But I don't think so. So the inevitable outcome is it will not spend, right? So the win rate in this scenario is irrelevant, but what we do is we keep upping the budget to get near to that situation, because every time we put 10,000, it only spends 100, it only spends 200, it only spends 300, right? The action that we do is what? Back to our boys. What is it we do now? Because you guys were somewhat right. Give it another shot. We have two variables, CPC and budget. What do? We can do two things.
CPC and budget. So in this case, we have to pay if our budget is $10,000. So we need to pay $40,000, or I am wrong. That's
numeric. Okay, so one needs to go up and the other one needs to go down, or one goes up or the other one goes down. In this scenario where the budget is 10,000, the bid is 4 cents, and the scenario it will not spend, right? Because apparently there's something wrong. Which metric goes up? Do we need more money or do we need to pay a higher bid?
More money.
Do we need to pay? Sorry, we need to pay more money. That's not correct, right? Because we already have so much money and it's not spending. So what do we do?
Increase the stake, no bid.
Yeah, we increase the bid. Perfect. We increase. Oh wait, higher the bid. We increase the bid. So that's exactly what we do. So we increase the bid, and then hopefully it goes from 200 to 400, 500, 600 and spends, right? It's spending more. But at some point, there's just not enough traffic, right? So what do we do then?
Increase budget.
The traffic source just doesn't have more inventory. So let's say we put it at 10,000, but they can only sell us 6,000 and we have purchased everything. What do we do with the remaining 4,000? Maybe use it for a different campaign? Yes?
Yes, we can do
that. So we lower this budget, yes? Because at the end of the day, if there's no traffic, then we might as well just lower it. At some point, you have to play between these metrics to find, what do we find?
The middle.
The middle? Yes, yes, the middle. But what do we call the middle?
Balance.
What was that?
Balance.
Yes, that's correct. Middle, balance, it's all correct, but we have a specific term. Do you remember the cool graph of supply and demand I showed you?
Yeah.
What was that called?
Equilibrium. Equilibrium. Somebody.
Yes. You guys go on the list. So much effort, and you guys have it 100% correct. You go on the list with a good check mark. You see? Good job, guys. Equilibrium. As long as we stay persistent, we get the result we want. All right, perfect. All right, so in Alenio's example, we either have to increase the bid or lower the budget. And then what will happen at some point, the metrics are stuck and we have maximized the campaign, right? Now, Alenio, you said you spent $100. Let's take a real life example. And your bid is on the whitelist 4 cents. It is not spending, so what are you going to do?
I just increased my bid. So I'm gonna wait to it.
Now, to what are we going to increase the dip? Increase the dip bid. To what are we going to increase it?
I would say 20% and then see what happens.
20%? That would be 1 cent?
25%. So
okay.
0.5. It's so cheap that I think I can like have a.
Is there a third decimal? I think you sent yes, right? Or not?
Sorry?
Can we do it like this, for example? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's probably what we should do. We should try this first. Maybe even go 4.4, because this is like a 10% bump. Yeah. You could go like this, but what, like you said, is quite a steep bump, right? And the thing with Brazil, because there's so much traffic, there's probably like a hook point where you enter basically the bidding spree. So if the hook point is, for example, here, you just, oh, well, obviously it's not there, it's right here. You're so close to it. And if you would bid 0.05, it would spend your entire daily budget in 1 minute, right? Make sense?
Oh, now it makes sense. Now I get it.
Okay, good.
I get
because
it.
at some point there will be an entry point, right? So what I would suggest you do is go, for example, like this, wait 1 hour, no bids, up. Wait 1 hour, no bids, up. Like this. So at least you're not going to blow your entire budget in 5 minutes, let's say 10 minutes, an hour, if the hook point is here. Because it might
That's
be
a big
here,
click,
or here,
Colin.
or here. Yes.
That's a big click.
Because we're patient, right? Sometimes, not me, usually, and that's why I make a lot of mistakes. But it's basically the test to find that, again, balance, middle, equilibrium. Alrighty, I think that's it for today. Yeah, we have 15 minutes left. We can do a little round of questions. Because apparently,
just one comment, Colin.
Sure.
I think here in Brazil right now, it's like we are like 10 years, or 7 years before you guys in Europe or the US, like 10 years or 15 years in the past. So I can see what happened in your market, and then kind of see what will happen here.
All right. So that's your strong opportunity. Yes. When you would say what we call digital adoption, right? You see it in Brazil, but also when we go into the under end, into India, those type of countries, the digitalization spree is insane, right? Look at the fact of the call centers in India, right? The migration from the US to India in terms of tech support. That's where it started. Now all of a sudden they're doing sales. These people get online because they get higher paid jobs, and it's globalization. Yes. For you in Brazil, because ref content just moved there, you have first mover advantage. Yes. Carries a lot of risk, but you're with us, so it's all good.
Yes.
So we do the TikTok game, we do the Kwai game, and it will be just fine. And of course, I love the fact that that you have already a winning process and app installs with a huge market.
Definitely.
Before we know it, you're the owner of a Brazilian digital marketing Amazon style company, 2,000 employees. We'll see.
I don't want that, I think.
No?
No.
Rather just relax on the beach, yeah?
Let's search the equilibrium.
All right, fair enough. Anybody else?
Thank you, Colin.
Of course. Yes, why?
Yeah, I got a question about bid. I have a campaign running on MGID. The thing is, they instead of a unanimous bid for all your creatives, they assign bid for each individual creative. And there's an algorithm to assign a certain value. So what I'm trying to say is some of my ads is more worthy than the others. And those expensive ads, unless I increase my bid, I don't get enough traffic to even test them. So my question is, should I consider increased bid to get the impression to test those creative?
Yes, so what happens in that scenario? Have you checked, I'm pretty sure Stanley is the main boss on MGID, but is it a CPC campaign?
It's a CPC campaign, yes.
Yeah, I think that's the default there. So basically what's happening, because it's CPC, like the example we gave before, it will run the highest quality audience first. Yes, so the highest ICTR. What we call equal distribution, so 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, that is not happening, right? Because all they're really looking at is the best performing creative. So what you'll see is you will see random impression counts. One ad can spend $90 and the other one has spent $1, right? That is because the creative here is being leveraged by itself because you're running CPC. Yes, that makes sense. Because in the CPC model, we want to achieve the highest results on the creative to bring you the CPC that you desire. Make sense? That's one part. So therefore, you have the option to play an individual bid on the creative. That's one part. Then the second part, but you can also place bids on the widgets, right? And that's why they use a coefficient. It's mad confusing. Every time I try to understand it in detail and they explain it to me, because I have a lot of contact with MGID, they update it again with their algorithm. So basically what you have is you get a media buying trinity, right? Is the creative relative to the widget overall the campaign bid. So in this scenario, it takes away a little bit of your power and it supplies the algorithm with data. So in that scenario, the triggers that you want to pull are on the obvious factors, right? So you can assume in this scenario that if a creative is being boosted by a lot of spend, it must mean that they have selected this as the holy grail of your creatives. Yes. So personally, I would leave that as is. One tip, get your account manager to increase your creative cap. If it's still 10, I think we did it with Christoph and they changed it to 20 or 25.
I already did. They changed it to 100 for me.
See, that's what you get. If you don't ask, you don't get. But just ask, push them a little bit, and then you have more options. They don't do it by default because then the compliance is obviously overrun. So in this scenario, I would say keep testing the creatives because as soon as you upload new ones, they will get some spend. Yeah. So if the algorithm, just like on Facebook, selects them to be the winner, it will get more traffic. But put your main focus on the widgets because at the end of the day, they have a lot of traffic, right? With a very big distinction in quality. The quality sometimes you might see lenders with 120% click-through rate. And if you don't have a bot filter because you're not on our enterprise plan, which I don't think any of you are today on this call, then you don't have a bot filter in your tracker, but you need to use your eye because 120% is not human, right? So put your focus here instead of here, and then use the power of the traffic source, which is the same as Facebook and Google because they also optimize the creatives for you. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Follow-up question? Yes, I think so.
Yes, but just by doing that, I have to basically ignore the ICTR metric of the creative.
Okay, so what we have is we have compartmentalized system. Yes, there's creatives, lender, offer, and there's the overall campaign flow. So the ICTR is still relevant according to all the creatives. So you just want to keep pushing new creatives to establish a new control. The 5K impressions rule. Yes, that's one. However, does that make sense or not?
Actually, that's the main question I want to ask. Some of the creatives that's determined by the algorithm to be so maybe low performing, so that it needs a really high bid. So for example, right now, all my creatives, I put 10 cents per click bid. And some of those creatives don't get any traffic. So if I post the cheaper ones, they still don't get any traffic. So the only way to get any traffic to properly test those creative is to increase the bid.
Yes. So in that scenario, I never want to trust third-party systems, right? But you're either working with the system or against it. So in that scenario where you're already passing the right performing ads to give it some reach, that would be my suggestion, which you've already done. I would say just kick these ads off the rotation and replace them by new ads. Because at the end of the day, you're fighting against this control. That's one, but don't forget about your coherency of the flow. So as soon as you start to gain 20, 50, 100, 1,000 conversions, the more the better. The best performing creative on ICTR might not be the most profitable creative in the coherent flow, which is once you exit the testing phase into the optimization phase, it will become very clear most often that the best creative on ICTR is the most profitable because it sends the most traffic, right? But 25% of the time, it will be the second, third highest ad. So two factors, creatives and then the coherency of the flow. Any additional questions?
We do have one more question from Marianne and Martin.
Sure.
For Facebook, when does it make sense to switch from automatic bidding to manual bidding?
That's a very good question. If you understand everything we have discussed today, because I think for Facebook, this masterclass is a little bit of an overkill, right? We discussed a lot of things that are not relevant to Facebook. It's like this, the more you control you want and the more expertise you can bring to the table, the higher percentage it would be more likely for me to recommend manual bid because you get more control. But it also means that if you don't know what you're doing, you might destroy your campaign, or it might not spend at all, right? The automatic bid, and that's why Facebook is in favor for a lot of beginners, is because it's very, well, not this year or last year, but before that, of course, it's very easy for beginners to get results because you rely on the algorithm, right? So in your situation, yes, do some automatic bid, but do feel free to experiment with a manual bid ad set, even if it's just one ad set, just to see how it works. And I think it might be a nice game to see if you can outperform the algorithm, right? Because if you feed the pixel data, right, it will work better. And I know there's tons of videos out there which say, yeah, we're going to optimize on 10 conversions. I've dealt with a lot of small companies and a lot of big companies, but the pixel needs 1,000, 10,000 conversions to be able to optimize, right? So if you're doing just one conversion and you're like, oh, the pixel is optimizing, it's the machine learning that is behind Facebook, not the pixel doing the actual work, just because their algorithm is very smart because of all the likes we give to an engagement on that platform. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, automatic and then a split test would be best. It's usually the best.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from you? No? All good? Perfect. Anybody else? We have 4 minutes.
I don't see any hands as of right now.
Then we're done. I think tomorrow I will send out the invites for next week. Next week we will do Tuesday, Thursday, I think. Tuesday and Thursday. And Stanley will do the Facebook group on Wednesday. So if you're in there as well, you get an additional hour. So next week we'll run for 4 hours. Damn, that's a lot of intense training. Any last thoughts, recommendations, questions, or are we all good? I think we're all good. Everybody looks really happy. Yep. All right, cheers guys. It was lovely seeing you all again. This will be uploaded in the content portal tomorrow if you want to have another look. And I would sure recommend you do so if it was all a lot, as I can imagine it can be. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend and we'll see you guys next week.